Hey there, let's keep moving with our Google Ads course. In the previous video, we set the schedule for when our ads are shown. Today we have a very interesting lesson. We are going to set bids. Yes, at the beginning we will use manual bidding. There are a lot of automated strategies now, and we will have a separate lesson about them closer to the end of the course. Look, Google is even complaining and shows a warning that you are using manual bidding and that it is inefficient. But you need to do this manually in order to understand the logic of how automated bidding works. In fact, automated strategies operate with exactly the same numbers that we will be working with. But until you understand how all of this is done manually, you will use automated strategies, just hoping that maybe they will work. That is exactly why we will do everything manually right away. And if after doing everything manually it works extremely well for you, you may not even need to switch to automated strategies. Because manual bidding is, honestly, objectively very good. Yes, of course, automation uses artificial intelligence and things like that, but again, step by step. In this lesson I will show you two bidding approaches. The first one is setting bids based purely on what Google wants from us. And the second, more interesting option is where we base bids on what we want. Go to the keywords section and immediately hide the left menu so that more data fits on the screen. I scroll to the right. Look, here we have estimated bids for first page, top of page and first position. If you open keywords and do not see these columns, click columns and then modify columns. Here, click attributes and check three boxes. Estimated first page bid, estimated top of page bid, and estimated first position bid. Here on the right, you can drag and reorder columns in the table. I will also remove columns that we do not need in this lesson, so your eyes are not overwhelmed. To make it easier, you can pause the video and do the same as I do. You can enable everything if you want, but then the table will be very long. It is convenient to create different column sets for different situations. For this, it is convenient to save them. You can check, save your column set, give it a name. I will just call it 1. And click Save and Apply. I slightly narrow the campaign and add group columns, so everything fits on one screen. Now let us break this down. What is estimated first page bid? What is the first page in general? Look, for example, here is a search results page. This is my level of drawing. This is the search bar, where people type some random stuff. Then there is something else, usually shopping ads, sometimes other things like AI reviews and so on. Then most often there are 4 ad positions. Sometimes they are not filled, because no one is advertising on a specific topic in a specific region. Next comes the organic search results, and we will have a separate course about SEO. And then as a rule there are 3 more ad positions. This is what is called the first page. That is everything that loads initially. All of this together is one first page. In practice, the lower you appear, the lower the cost per click. Sometimes you can advertise at the bottom for very small amounts. Advertising on the first page usually refers to those 3 bottom positions. But sometimes you can appear anywhere on this page if the keyword has low competition in a specific location and at a specific time. What is estimated top of page bid? These are those 4 blocks at the top. Something may change in the future and it may look different, but in general this is the top of the page. These blocks are located between the search bar and the organic results. And the next one is estimated first position bid. Here everything is very simple. This is it. This is our first position. First, let me remind you that if you scroll to the very bottom, you can choose how many rows are displayed on one page. We only have 19 rows, but only 10 are shown. I will choose 500, the maximum. So where do we start with bids? Most often Google immediately shows the first page bid. Sometimes, as in our case, there is also top of page bid data. First position bid will appear over time when statistics accumulate, but at the beginning we can safely rely on the estimated first page bid column. So to appear anywhere on the first page for the keyword best nail salon near me, we need to set a bid of at least $5.12. I scroll somewhere to the middle and look what I see. The keyword manicure salon near me costs only $2.18. That means we can advertise a course service more than 2 times cheaper. I scroll all the way down. And for the query closest nail salon to me, a bid of only 36 cents is enough. A 14 times difference. Can you imagine that? This shows that you can run a business with any budget, if you have done good keyword research. They are cheap keywords because competition on them is simply low. And the keyword closest nail salon to me is clearly hot and transactional. But very few people do keyword research as thoroughly as we do. People write keywords off the top of their head and miss a lot. Here we have an auction. The lower the competition, the lower the bid. What is interesting is that the bids shown here are always different for different advertisers for the same keywords. Moreover, Google shows us certain bids now, and later they will be different in this same account. And I am not talking about competition. I am talking about how this suggested bid is formed. To show this clearly, I click columns and then choose modify columns. Here I am interested in quality score. The first metric is called quality score, and it affects how much Google charges us per click under equal conditions. A very important metric that participates in the calculation of quality score is CTR. I already said that the higher the CTR, the lower the cost per click, and vice versa. When you are just starting to advertise, Google has no idea what your CTR will be. That is why it initially assigns you an expected CTR, which later changes to the actual one. As a rule, Google is conservative here, and later advertising becomes cheaper for us. Not for all keywords, but in general this is the case if you build ads correctly in previous lessons of this course. Next comes add relevance to the keyword, which we have already worked through perfectly. And the next one is landing page experience. It considers how well the page matches the query. This is not about design, but about whether the user got exactly what they were looking for on the page. Now you understand why I spent so much time on these topics in previous lessons. This is the most critical part, and most people usually do this carelessly. But you are already at a completely different quality level. We click apply. You can hover over the columns and Google will show descriptions. In practice, I almost never add these columns to the table, because Google objectively cannot properly evaluate the real quality of landing pages and everything else. But the real quality is perfectly visible through conversions, which we will configure in the next lessons. I will remove these columns so they do not interfere with us, and I do not recommend using them either if you are an entrepreneur and your goal is to make money, not to please Google. Now about how to set bids and which ones. Look, you can simply set bids right here, by looking at the suggested number and entering the same value. But we will not set bids at the keyword level. We will set bids at the ad group level. For example, if I set the same bid of $5.50 everywhere, I will show for all of them. I will explain why this works a bit later. For convenience, I already have Google Ads Editor open. I said that we will always use it. I go to Ad Groups, press Ctrl A to select everything, and set default max CPC to $5.50. If I now go to Keywords, I see a bid of $5.50 everywhere. The gray color indicates that the bid is inherited from the ad group level. At this point you may have a question. Why set $5.50 for a keyword where you only need $5.12 to show? And why set such a bid for a keyword where only 36 cents is enough? The answer is very simple. For the keyword where the bid is $5.50, we will appear somewhere near the bottom. But for keywords where the estimated bid is lower and lower, we will appear higher and higher. Do you see the logic? But then another logical question may arise. If we set such a high bid when only 36 cents is needed, are we not heating up the auction and making things worse for ourselves? Yes, you are right. But there is one important point. Why is the cost per click for this keyword so low? Because there is no competition for it. Most people do not bother to properly clean up the keyword list. Who would do that? For the price to increase here, advertisers in the same region and same niche would need to start researching keywords properly and include this keyword as well. Only then would my high bid start affecting the auction. In reality, only a very small number of people do this properly. And that is it. Let us move on. So far, I have only shown the mechanics using all keywords in the account as an example. And at the same time, we relied on what Google was telling us. But from a business perspective, this is not the correct approach. And it is not without reason that we separated everything into different campaigns. You offer different services with different margins, different competition, and therefore different conversion costs and actual customer acquisition costs, which means the maximum profitable cost per click will also be different. So we choose any campaign. We traditionally start with Search Miami Nail. We click on it. Here we see only the keywords that belong to this campaign and, accordingly, the estimated bids that Google recommends for showing ads. This is the least specific campaign, where there is no clear indication of what the user wants. The highest estimated bid is $5.12. I rounded slightly up to account for possible fluctuations, since the auction happens in real time and the actual price is always different. That is why I chose $5.50. This is not the final number, we will come back to it later. I go to Google Ads Editor, undo the previously made changes and go to Ad Groups. Then I select our Search Miami Nail campaign, select all ad groups inside it and set the maximum cost per click to $5.50. I do not post it yet. I go back. Let us move on to the next campaign. I choose Search Miami Manicure. Here the situation is even better. The most expensive keyword starts at $3.12 for first page visibility. And this is for the query manicure places near me. The more logical keyword manicure salon near me is even cheaper. It starts at only $2.18. I go to Ads Editor, open Search Miami Manicure and set $3.50. I return to the web interface and choose the Search Miami Pedicure campaign. Here the most expensive keyword starts at $3.09 and the second one at $3.04. We do not need to round up here. We can set $3. And the interesting part is that we will still get impressions even if we set a bit lower than what Google suggests. I will show you all of this after the actual launch of the ads. I open Ads Editor, select Search Miami Pedicure and set the maximum bid to $3. I open the Search Miami Manicure campaign in the web interface again. Do you see this $3.12? We can also show here even if we set $3. You do not have to always set very low bids. I am doing this to later show you in practice that this works and impressions will still happen. This is a training course. I deliberately go to extremes to demonstrate certain points. So I set $3 in Ads Editor. Now I go back to the Search Miami Nail campaign, which we started with. If there is a place to lower the cost per click, it is here, because these queries are generic, high volume and have the highest competition. I go to the editor and set $4 instead of $5.50. This is what we end up with. Now we publish the changes. I click Post, then Post again, and then Close. I go to the web interface and refresh the page. Let me remind you that we currently have the Search Miami Nail campaign open. Google says that our bid is not enough for the keywords Best Nail Salon Near Me and Nail Stylist. But we do qualify for a whole set of very good keywords. Now do you understand why we start with a manual strategy? In automated strategies, we do not see cost per click values. These three columns are simply empty, with dashes. And then you can only limit the cost per click based on assumptions. Yes, there is some data in Keyword Planner, but its accuracy is even lower, so we never rely on that data. Let us look at Search Miami Pedicure. Here it also looks like we do not qualify for two keywords, but our bid is lower than the estimated one by a very small amount, so impressions will still happen. Let me hide the menu because it is not needed here. I will also open Search Miami Manicure, but I will not comment on it anymore because I am sure you already understand everything. You can select all campaigns and see the overall picture for the entire account. Now about setting bids the way we want. I will start explaining how to assign bids based on business metrics, not on what Google wants. We do not yet know what is optimal for us, simply because we do not know how the ads will actually perform. We do not know how much traffic there will be, whether it will be enough to cover all our operational needs and keep all our specialists busy. We don't know the conversion rate of our website. We don't know the conversion rate of our sales team. We are not sure about seasonality. I am showing the general logic of bid calculation that we switch to once we have real statistics. Look, I take a calculator, I enter the average cost per click. Let us say $3. Keep in mind that everything we set is the maximum cost per click. Google will charge us only the price that results from the auction, which is often lower than the maximum for many keywords. So the real average will be around $3 or even lower. Next, we calculate the conversion rate of our website. We don't know what it is yet. We will only know it over time. There are many factors here. But in the worst case, to give you a reference point, the average website conversion rate on the internet is around 3%. At the same time, when we bring targeted traffic and your offer is really good, the conversion rate can easily be 10%. At least in the nail salon niche, that is absolutely realistic. Someone may tell you that their website conversion rate is 40%. 40% is possible only if you give something away completely for free, and the audience is extremely targeted. You can create a very strong offer with a lot of leads. But if the offer is too broad, your managers will struggle to process all the inquiries, and the sales results will be weak. That is why, as I always say, you need to think bigger and look at the bigger picture. So I do not go to extremes and take a realistic 10%. If we take a cost per click of $10 and a website conversion rate of 10%, we get a cost per lead of $30. This is an average value. You might spend $90 and get 0 leads. And that does not mean something is wrong. It works in waves. You spend $90 and get no leads. You spend $180 and get 6 leads. That is how it works. There can be periods when nothing happens and then it starts working. That is why all of this is calculated as an average. What else do we have? Seasonality plays an extremely important role. And the next important thing is traffic quality. Regarding traffic quality, we will have a lesson where we analyze ads and review search queries. I intentionally added almost no negative keywords to show how much budget is wasted because of poor traffic quality. Again, I did this intentionally to show you this clearly. You would not want to risk your own money, but using this example makes it easier to understand. And when you see in practice why proper negative keyword work is important, you will make sure to do it correctly before launching ads, exactly the way I explained earlier when we worked on keyword research. So let us assume that with these metrics, our average cost per lead is $30. Let us assume that your sales team can close every second lead. That means we multiply by 2. If you receive 2 calls and convert 1 into a client, your cost per deal will be $60. That is a very strong result. And this is insane efficiency. It actually exists. We only need a paying audience to achieve it. If people do not have money, everything we are doing is pointless. If we advertise in places where people have money, this works extremely well. Alright, so what's next? We set the bids and launch the ads. Not so fast. Next, we will configure conversion tracking. We need to understand what is happening with conversions. Without this, it is impossible to measure ad performance and switch to automated strategies focused on maximizing leads. I have seen many accounts where people choose a maximize conversion strategy while having no properly configured conversions. Google simply cannot learn. It doesn't understand what it's doing right and what it is doing wrong. That's why, starting from the next lesson, we begin working with Google Tag Manager. If you have questions about this lesson, ask them in the comments. If you just randomly ended up here, found this specific video, or YouTube showed it to you for some reason, I recommend watching the entire playlist from the beginning. This playlist is a free Google Ads course. Somewhere else you would pay at least $1,000 for it. And it is not guaranteed that the course would be even 1/10 as good as the one you are watching for free now. I hope this was helpful. If it was, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next lesson. Think bigger and make money.